is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Wisconsin.
Ground ball. Jeanette goes to second out there. Dangerous throw, but they get the lead out.
That's a good
Wait
play.
a minute. We got a call at second. Off the bag. That's a double play. And if that holds up, the game is over. And the headsets are coming off. The crew chief, Tom Hallion, will make the call. That's it. That is the ball game.
What a break that is. Wow.
My goodness.
They called it right as the rule goes, yeah. I think that's what that's as the rule, as they're, I mean, we're all learning how they're interpreting the rule. So as it looks like they've been interpreting the rule, yeah, they got it right. Yeah.
It is what it is. We have the rule. We know the rule. I don't like it, especially when it's applied in a game-ending type situation where you fight and claw back in the game. You put context into that rule, and it's pretty painful. Like, yeah, by the way it's written, by the letter of the law, by how it's going to be governed, it is what it is. But it's a shame.
Well, a controversial win Friday night sets us up for Saturday baseball. We're still in opening week on the Major League Baseball schedule, and we are here at beautiful Miller Park. It is still very cold outside, but very warm inside this grand ballpark. The Astros and the Brewers, Game 2 of this 3-game series. And hi, everybody. We welcome you alongside Bill Schroeder. I'm Brian Anderson. Sophia Minard is our reporter. We'll hear from her in just a moment. Well, the Brewers did win one. Very fortunate to get that one last night. And now they're going to give the ball rock to their opening day starter, Willie Peralta, who's trying to get things turned around a little bit.
Yeah, still waiting to get to the way Willie was able to throw the baseball in 2014 when he won 17 games. He's shown signs. We saw a little bit last year. He had some injury problems throughout the season, but he's always got that fastball in his back pocket. I think he's got that big fastball, that sinking fastball at 96. I think if he wakes up on Christmas Eve, he's able to throw that pitch. The one pitch that he's been struggling with is the slider, the put-away slider with 2 strikes. He needs to keep it down there, keep it over the confines of the plate, down into the zone, the put-away slider, a big pitch for Willie Peralta. If he's able to harness that, I think we're going to see the 2014 Willie Peralta.
A 17-game winner a couple of years ago, and now the Brewers trying to give him some run support, and a guy who's swinging it well. Homers in back-to-back games, Chris Carter, the former Astro. Sophia has more on CC right after this.
Milwaukee Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. And by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Game 1 between the Brewers and the Astros ended on a controversial call, but there has been no doubt about Chris Carter and his power at the plate. Chris Carter has hit a home run in each of his last 2 games. He was one of 3 Brewers to homer in last night's win here at Miller Park. Chris Carter has been among the league's best among first basemen. We check out the numbers for him since 2013. Here's where he ranks. His 92 home runs, 8th overall in baseball, but 3rd among first basemen. Top 10 in RBIs as well with 239 and a high slugging percentage, 462. But Chris Carter wants to be known for more at the plate than just his power.
Been streaky, I'll say that, but no, I mean, I worked on that this offseason, trying to clean that up a little bit, and I take about how I finished last year and take that into the offseason and work on that. You know, every day I went and hit and stuff, and you know, just working on that. And but I mean, mainly I've been more of a power guy. I mean, that's been my thing that's been, you know, linked to me mainly. Sure. So, but I'm trying to, you know, be an all-around hitter and hit for average and power.
Are you laughing at the glasses?
Chris Carter hopes to keep up the power at the plate. Willie Peralta looking for a bounce-back outing. Brian Anderson and Bill Schroeder will bring you first pitch coming up next on Fox Sports Wisconsin.
There is Willie Peralta, the Brewers opening day starter, ready for round 2 as he and the crew hit the field at beautiful Miller Park. Brewers baseball tonight on Fox Sports Wisconsin, presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Spend the night with luxury. The sun is out, indeed. Setting makes it tough in left field in the early going, but it's still cold out. 31 degrees, roof is closed up. It is a comfortable 65 degrees inside Miller Park. And the Astros decked out in their orange tops. Easy to spot on a night like this. A.J. Hinch, second-year manager, and had some pretty sharp words for the new slide rule at second base. His team suffering a loss at the hands of that rule, and the second time that rule has been enforced to end the ball game in the opening week of the season. A.J. Hinch's lineup today looks like this. He's got Jose Altuve leading off. George Springer back in the 2-hole with Carlos Correa batting third. Middle of the order, a bit of a change here. Colby Rasmus back in the starting lineup with Tyler White and Carlos Gomez. And then it's Valbuena, Castro, and Pfister rounding out the starting 9. That will match up against Willie Peralta.
Yeah, opening day start for Willie didn't go as he would have liked. 83 pitches. He was only able to get through 4 innings. 5 runs, 4 of them earned. He scuffled with his command from time to time, but showed a pretty good fastball in that first start.
Altuve will lead off for Houston. Interleague baseball tonight at Miller Park. The American League Astros in town for 3. And we are underway. Big swing and a miss by Altuve. Brewers trying to make it 3 consecutive victories with a win tonight after dropping the first 2 games of the season to the Giants. Well, the Giants had a thriller last night. A walk-off home run by Brandon Crawford, beating the Dodgers, breaking up a no-hitter in that game. So nothing to sneeze at losing a series to the Giants. But the Brewers were able to salvage that final game Wednesday, and then they won against a very talented Houston ball club last night. Broken bat up the middle and a base hit for Altuve.
Jose Altuve has been very aggressive in this series, swinging early in the count. Able to take that pitch right back through the middle. Let's check out the Menards Brewers defense. Pretty much the same group out there every single game except for center field. Kirk Newhouse, the 3rd different center fielder used by Craig Counsell so far this year. Jonathan Lucroy remains behind home plate, hanging the signs for Willie tonight.
Newhouse joining that group of center fielders. Keon Broxton got the start last night. Saw back-to-back starts from Ramon Flores in that San Francisco series. Here's George Springer. Springer with 4 runs batted in early in the schedule, all coming on 1 swing of the bat. Hit a grand slam on Wednesday against the Yankees. Astros dropped 2 out of 3 to the Yankees in their opening series. Altuve takes off. Lucroy's throw to second is high, and Altuve is in with a stolen base.
And might have had him had that throw been a little bit lower. That was a good release by Lucroy, just a little bit high. Altuve steals it. That's nothing new. He can run. Had a pretty good jump, but I think a throw right on the money is going to get him. That's a big lead. Good jump. He can motor.
3rd stolen base of the year, and the 2nd in as many games for Altuve. So right away the Astros put the pressure on Peralta. Runner at second, and Peralta backs Springer out of there. Springer just 2 for 17 at the plate to start the year. He did have that grand slam, but he has been bitten by the strikeout bug. Brewers are operating in a 4-man starting rotation right now, utilizing the off days, and 8 relievers. There's a shot, another broken bat, and a base hit to center, and Altuve is going to hold up. Newhouse has a good arm, and the Astros with 2 broken bats but 2 singles to start this game.
Yeah, a little bit up in the strike zone for Willie, and able to dump it into center field is Springer. You know, the Astros really haven't been able to get their offense going all that well up until that 9th inning in last night's game. You can see the fastball a little bit too much of the plate. Springer blows his bat up, but able to dump it into center. And with nobody out, Altuve stays at 3rd base. Just had to be sure that ball was going to drop.
And here comes Carlos Correa now. One of the great young talents in all of baseball, the 21-year-old phenom shortstop Correa. Last night had 2 hits, was 2 for 4. Had a double in last night's game. That was his first double of the season. He's already hit 3 home runs. Hit 3 home runs in his first 2 games of the year, and then he almost had a 4th in their 3rd game of that series in New York. Hit one all the way to the wall in that game early.
Incredible plate coverage for a guy 21 years old, has a good understanding of his strike zone, and not a bad start to his career.
Well, I mean, 25 home runs is the top ranked shortstop as far as home runs go since 2015. It is also historically significant because he is the fastest in Major League history by a shortstop to 25 home runs.
There's been some good ones, huh?
Well, I'm telling you.
A-Rod,
The list, A-Rod's on that list. Nomar Garciaparra is second. 134 games it took him to hit his 25th homer. And then Alex Rodriguez, who was in the big leagues as a 19-year-old, it took him 141 games to hit 25 home runs. So Correa got to 25 homers in just 101 games in the major leagues. Nobody's ever done it faster. Now this is a very rough start here for Peralta. The bases are now loaded. Nobody out.
They had a 4-pitch walk, and I would imagine trying to be a little bit careful with Correa, but the problem is you got the bases loaded, nobody out. It was pitch count issues for Willie in his first start against San Francisco. 4 innings, 83 pitches. He needs to do a better job of being more efficient.
Now, one thing about Peralta, he has good enough stuff to get out of jams like this. But this Astros team can swing the bat. They were quiet. They were shut out through 8 innings last night, but did they come alive in a hurry in the 9th inning? Scoring 4 until the second base slide rule came into effect, and it was Colby Rasmus, the batter here, who made that slide. Looking to jump on a first pitch fastball, and Peralta took something off.
Yeah, a little slider. That's a good slider for Willie. That's the pitch that he's really been struggling with for a while now. Went back to last year.
Oh, and 2 the count on Rasmus. Peralta with that electric fastball, 95 plus consistently. It's really what separates him as a potential ace. He got the opening day nod this year. First opening day assignment of his career. 0-2 pitch in the dirt. Good block back there by Lucroy.
All off-speed pitches to Colby Rasmus, having a difficult time commanding the fastball, so try something else. And when Willie's able to get on top of the fingers on top of that baseball, that fastball, he really gets good movement on it. When he doesn't, get off to the side. When he gets on to the side, it flattens out quite a bit.
Could use a strikeout here. And a fastball in the air, left center field, well hit. Braun gives chase, and he's got it for the out. All 3 runners will tag, and the throw comes to second, which will chase Correa back. But a run is in. The Astros on a sac fly from Rasmus strike first here tonight.
Pretty good base running by Carlos Correa. He was just about to second base. He was wondering where Braun was going to throw the baseball. Had he thrown to third, he would have gotten into second. Nobody at first, because Chris Carter's in a cutoff spot, and he just went back. Nobody there.
It was a smart throw by Braun as well.
Smart throw, smart play by Correa on the bases.
Keeps a double play opportunity alive here to get Peralta out of the inning. All those little things that don't show up in a box score. But Braun with a nice running catch and then the proper throw. Correa looked like he might have wanted to run, and almost a pickoff at first base.
Yeah, had him leaning just a bit.
Well, the Astros are glad to have their hottest hitter at the plate in a spot like this, Tyler White. In a roster full of prospects who have emerged at the big league level and high draft picks, Tyler White is here and making a name for himself quickly. A 33rd round draft pick in 2013. He has set an Astros franchise record, Rock. In his first 4 games in the major leagues, he has 9 hits.
And 9 for 14. He had 3 of them last night, including a home run.
A 3-run home run in the 9th inning last night that tightened the game up. But White does not run well, and Peralta would love to get a ground ball here to turn 2 and survive this first inning with only 1 run.
And to do that, he needs to be able to command that good two-seamer, that power sinker, to get the ground ball. Really taking a lot of time between pitches, just not feeling right.
Another check on Correa. Correa's got an interesting dive back to first base. A lot of guys will go in low, look kind of a smooth dive. He looks like he's jumping into a swimming pool.
You don't really slide all that much. You hit and stick.
He's got the scissor kick going, and that 6'4" frame, he can stretch out there a little further, and he takes a step. Peralta steps off. Correa certainly wanting to run there, and he's got the attention of Willie Peralta.
Yeah, good poise by Willie. Didn't flinch. He just stepped off and tried to figure out what Correa was doing and where he was.
It's a lot to process on the mound, right? Easy up here to say if he'd have just fired to first, he'd have had an out.
Right. But you're scuffling out there in the mound. You got one of the hottest hitters in baseball at the plate. You got Correa dancing around first base. And
the Astros led the American League in stolen bases last year. Altuve set the pace with 38. Ball and a strike on Tyler White. Springer with a broken bat single. Correa drew a 4-pitch walk. A run is in. Altuve scored on a sac fly by Rasmus. One ball, one strike on Tyler White, and that one's in the air, center field, plenty deep to score the run, and the Astros are up 2-0. So the 2 runs coming on outs, back-to-back sacrifice flies. 2 gone with a runner at first now.
Yep, and really not able to get that ground ball to get out of this mess. A double play, a couple of fly balls to score runs. It's always a good sign when Willie's getting ground ball outs.
That ovation you hear is for Carlos Gomez, a fan favorite in Milwaukee. Made his return to Miller Park last night. Had great things to say, and I know a lot of fans had a chance to read his comments in the papers and online today. He actually said he would love to retire in a Brewers uniform.
Yes, he did. Why not, right?
He is a free agent at season's end. Still got a lot of baseball yet in his career, does Carlos Gomez.
Yes, the Brewers are the team, the organization that gave him a chance to play every day. Why wouldn't he like it here?
Gomez last night was 2 for 4. He's had back-to-back games of 2 for 4. The finale against the Yankees, had a double in that game on Thursday, and then was 2 for 4 yesterday. And those are his first 4 hits of the season. Huge lead for Correa. Stays put. Gomez swipes at one.
Yeah, Carlos got picked off at second base yesterday. It took 6 throws to get him. So he's still light on his feet out there.
It was a rundown scenario that ended up with Ryan Braun coming in from left field to take the final throw and put the tag on Gomez. You don't see many infield put-out chains that end in 7.
It went 1-5-4, 1-5-6-7.
Pitcher third, second. Pitcher third, short,
left field.
Left fielder.
Yeah. Well done. That's pretty good.
Gomez pops it up in the infield. Carter wants it, and that will retire the side. So a shaky start for Peralta. 2 hits, a walk, couple of sac flies. Astros are on the board first tonight. start to the season for Willie Peralta. 2 runs in the first inning. Let's hope he gets things turned around in 2016. 2-0 Astros, and let's give you the Brewers starting lineup. Domingo Santana, followed by Jeanette, then Braun, Lucroy, Carter, and Newhouse in the middle of Council's order, with Aaron Hill, Willie Peralta batting 8th, and then Jonathan Villar, the switch-hitting shortstop, batting 9th. And that lineup courtesy of Potawatomi. And that lineup will face Doug Fister, signing a 1-year deal with the Astros, trying to get his career back on track.
And not a hard thrower. He's 6'8", 210 pounds, a free agent signed by the Astros, 8th season for him. And first with the Astros, he has a career 65-63 record and a very good 342 earned run average. His numbers last year with the Nationals.
Now Domingo Santana back in that leadoff spot, has performed very well in that spot. Last night had a 2-out RBI double. Brewers scored 6 runs on 7 hits last night. Santana was part of that. He finished 1 for 4.
Feeling very comfortable in that leadoff spot.
Santana with 2 runs batted in. He's walked twice in his first 4 games. Hits that one sharply, but right at Altuve. All 5 of them leaping in the air to make the catch for out number 1.
Yeah, good swing by Santana, not trying to pull it. A bullet to Altuve. Now let's check out the Menards Astros defense. 1 change from last night. Colby Rasmus, he gets the start in left. He ended the game on that controversial call at second base. You got Carlos Gomez in center, Springer in right, Valbuena, Correa, Altuve, and Tyler White from third to first, and Jason Castro behind the plate.
Here's Scooter Gennett back in the 2 spot behind Santana, in front of Ryan Braun. Big day for Scooter Gennett today. The significance of April 9th doesn't have anything to do with baseball. Today is Scooter Gennett's first wedding anniversary. Remember, he did the sneaky wedding last year. His wife Kelsey came to the ballpark the next day and said, "Yeah, got married on the off day last year."
Yeah, what'd you do on the off day? I just hung out, got married.
Yeah, got married right here in Wisconsin. So happy anniversary to Scooter and Kelsey. Scooter's really been swinging the bat well. Started this spring, carried over to the regular season. Already has 2 home runs, 2 of his 5 hits on the season. And last night, with the 3 home runs hit, it was the longest of the bunch. This was Monday, opening day against Madison Bumgarner. And that was the first home run of the year for the Brewers as a team. And then last night, Scott Feldman destroyed one in the first inning.
They're not wall scrapers, are they? Well, he's hitting them pretty well.
425 feet for Gennett. He had a home run longer than Braun and Carter last night. He's got that going for him today. On the ground with the shift on. That's the shortstop Correa over there for out number 2. When here's Ryan Braun now. Braun hit his first home run of the season last night. Powerball home run number 1, and it was a rocket into right center field.
You know, and at the time it looked like that was a knockout punch to the Astros last night, but they had other thoughts in mind in the 9th inning. Gave the Brewers a 6-zip lead. They needed that 2-run home run in the 8th.
Braun's home run traveled 416. The shortest home run of the bunch, but 416 is a long, long way, especially with the cooler temperatures. Gennett's went 427, and then Chris Carter's home run went 420.
Or thereabouts.
Ish. 420-ish.
I mean, it's not an exact science.
It's way more exact than it used to be when Mike Vassallo was just guessing.
Right.
Fine media relations director.
And giving the long distance home runs to the guys he liked.
Right. I remember that part of it too. There he is, still decked out in his Villanova blue. Decided to jump on the Villanova bandwagon this year and got himself a championship. Congratulations to him.
He's still upset with you for that.
Well, Ryan's been out there every day. Some off days to work with early in the schedule. Says he feels good. He's made some good throws. Already has an outfield assist. Back in left field this year. First time since 2013. After a couple of years in right. In there, a called strike 3, and Doug Fister with a 3-up, 3-down first. One in the books at Miller Park. Second game of the series with the Astros.
The Astros as we head to the second inning. Willie Peralta looking for a bounce back outing after his opening day loss. And for Willie, the goal is health coming out of a 2015 season that was plagued by his first time on the disabled list. It was 2 months for Peralta on the DL with a left oblique strain, and really he was not the same pitcher after that. So we look at 2014, the numbers for him, 17 and 11. Peralta told me physically he feels as good as he did that season, and that's been the goal for him, is just to stay healthy through this first half and get off to a good start.
Puts a lot of pressure on a pitcher, Rock, a guy who is fronting a rotation right now, he and Jimmy Nelson, and those are the numbers that Sophia referenced. And after winning 17 in 2014, I thought it was a big vote of confidence by Craig Counsell to give him that opening day start, basically saying, we believe you are back to where you were. We need you back to where you were 2 years ago, and you're going to be the one to get us started.
No, there's a lot of things going on with Willie Peralta last year. A lot of injuries. He just didn't feel right out there in the mound, and hopefully he's going to be able to turn things around this year.
Boy, with the shift on, 2 pitches into this inning, the Astros have 2 men on base. Jason Castro drops down a perfect bunt. Astros are up there very aggressive on Willie Peralta to start this game.
And you wonder why you don't see more of this, you know, with the shift like that. The guy just drops one down and you put it fair and it's going to be a hit. And especially early in the game, with nobody out. And now Doug Fister can go up there and drop down a bunt to advance the base runners.
Seeing a lot more of the bunting with shifts on, and that will start to ease up on those shifts a little bit. If you were watching the Valbuena at bat, which didn't last long, just 1 pitch, They had a shift on for Valbuena, but the shortstop VR was in on the grass to try to take away that bunt. They didn't do that for Castro, and he makes him pay. A lot of traffic early on the bases against Peralta. It's already the 5th base runner, and this is the 9th hitter. He drops a bunt down. Peralta thinking about 3, and they got the out there across the diamond. Not in time.
Yeah, good idea from Aaron Hill. Pfister running hard down the line. Had he not, it would have been a double play. Now Willie bouncing off the mound quickly. Lucroy telling him to go to third base. Went a little bit too hard, right back at Willie Peralta, and that's an easy out of third.
You know, thinking about that second base slide rule, it's got to apply at third base, doesn't it, on a play like
you would
that?
think. I don't know. I mean, you know, it was designed to protect particularly second baseman with their back to the play. I'm not sure if that's exactly, you know, the same thing or not.
Well, you think about where you could try to break up a double play. Most of the time it's at second base,
right.
But occasionally like that, it would be at third base. You see it at home plate every now and then.
Yeah, once in a while, but most of the time it's just trying to get into third, and that's it.
Astros back at the top of their order already.
And then you see Valbuena coming in hard, trying to break up the double play, and
he made sure he stayed connected to the bag. Smart.
See him gripping it. Guys never used to do that.
Yeah, just slide on by until this season. Base runners are going to have to make the quick adjustment. And if they haven't already, like we saw last night, they're falling behind. On the ground, got to hurry it up. Jeanette to VR, fires to first in time. A double play to get the speedy Altuve. So Willie Peralta puts up a 0, flashing the leather. That was a 5-pitch inning, and he gave up 2 hits.
Miller Park. Brewers have to play catch up, and it's superhero night at Miller Park, presented by Quick Trip on Saturday, April 30th. The Brewers battle the Marlins, and fans who purchase a special ticket package will get a Jonathan Lucroy superhero bobblehead. For tickets, go to brewers.com/theme nights.
They call him Captain America. It's pretty cool.
That's
got his
cool,
number on the back.
Cool equipment.
I had to look at it a couple of times because obviously it's not really Brewers gear, but then the whole superhero theme. There you go. You can have that.
Is that mine? It was mine anyway, wasn't it?
But you can have it this time.
Yeah. He had gear like that. Didn't he have the
Stars and Stripes
red,
gear.
white, and blue gear at one point last
4th
year?
of July, I think it was.
Yeah. Auctioned it off for charity.
Lucroy will lead off. The Brewers down 2-0 to the Astros. What a strange top of the inning it was.
Right.
5 pitches.
2 hits.
Astros had 2 hits and then the double play. They had a result on the first 3 pitches of the inning. 2 singles and an out.
And that's what Willie needs. I mean, he needs quick innings from time to time. He really wasn't able to get that in his first start. Any way you can get him. 5 pitch innings is a 5 pitch inning, and even though he did give up a couple of base hits.
Long, tall Doug Fister slotting in 5th in this Astros rotation. They're going to have Dallas Keuchel on the mound tomorrow, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner. Hoping for a bounce back year from Fister. He was with Washington last year and was back and forth between the bullpen and the starting rotation after he won 16 games for the Nationals 2 years ago. A sinker ball specialist.
And will not probably get to 90 miles an hour. I mean, 6'7", doesn't throw very hard. About 88 tops out at. He's got a slider that he likes to throw to right-handers and a splitter to lefties. And he will from time to time throw a curveball, but he does not throw hard at all.
On the ground, foul. Up until last year, Fister as a regular starter, meaning in the rotation for most of a season, and he had a nice run going with Seattle and then with the Tigers, eventually with the Washington Nationals. But his ground ball percentage was 50%. Half of the pitches that there was a result on were ground balls. Half of the balls put in play.
Yeah.
An extreme ground ball specialist.
It's double plays. Doesn't walk many.
First came up in 09, did Fister with the Mariners. 2.5 seasons with them, and then he was part of a significant trade for the Detroit Tigers. Fister helped the Tigers to the ALCS in 2011. That one just missed. Lucroy draws a leadoff walk here in the 2nd inning. And here comes Chris Carter with a grooved home run swing the last 2 games, partner.
He doesn't even really have to get all of it, get good extension or hit it on the sweet spot to hit it out. Look at the one he hit on the right there. That was last night. That was centered up on the sweet spot. The one on the left, he got jammed against the Giants. You can see that point of contact right there. Really not getting it on the sweet spot, but still strong enough to muscle it out of the ballpark to the opposite field. The guy can hit. He's got incredible power. And he's got a very controlled swing, which surprises you, the fact that he strikes out so much.
Yeah, Ryan Braun was commenting on that fact when you look at Carter on the highlights, and the Brewers had not faced him as a member of the Astros, and said he was impressed by his short, compact power stroke, and feels like he can become a lot more than just a power hitter in the big leagues, which is just fine. But Carter has aspirations to be an all-around hitter, a guy who can get on base, get deep in counts, hit with 2 strikes.
He's never going to be a 300 hitter, but I think if he's able to make a little bit more contact, his RBI totals will start creeping up. He did get that sacrifice fly against the Giants that ultimately won the ball game for the Brewers on Wednesday, and that was on a 2-strike pitch.
There's a called strike 3. Phil Cuzzy rings the bell, and Carter disagrees with that call.
Yeah, got to be aware of that comeback 2-seam fastball. It's going to start off the edge, and then watch it come right back and catch the outside corner. And Phil Cuzzy giving Fister the benefit of the marginal pitch. Jason Castro holding it there nicely. You can't give up on that pitch. If you're a left-hander, it's going to start inside, catch the inside corner. Right-handers on the outside part of the plate.
So much movement, and it's interesting that Fister works off the third base side of the rubber, so he's really spinning that ball to get it to come back on that side. They call it glove side, and that is not an easy spot to hit for a right-handed pitcher, and it's usually the difference maker for Doug Fister, whether he has a good game or not. He has to have that corner.
Yeah, when you throw a pitch like that on the far third base side of the pitching rubber, I mean, you try and you crossfire to the inside corner. A lot of times it'll cut on you, but he still has the ability to two-seam it and get that good tailing action that's going to come back and catch the strike zone.
1 ball, 1 strike. Newhouse at the plate, getting his first start in center field. He's been used on a couple of occasions as a pinch hitter. Has 3 at-bats. And did have a hit in a pinch hit appearance on Wednesday. A lot of competition in center field. At one time in spring training, there were 9 players competing for the center field job. That is no overstatement. There were 9 of them on the board.
And most of them stuck around for quite some time.
They did. Revolving door of center fielders. Newhouse, one of the 3 that made it. And a defensive swing. Pfister strikes him out for out number 2. And not known as a strikeout pitcher, he's already racked up 3 of them.
You see that two-seam fastball, and normally, you know, that sinker that doesn't have a lot of velocity on it. It's not very effective when it's up in the strike zone, but he's got 2 strikeouts on high two-seam fastballs. One that Carter got caught looking at, and the swing there from Newhouse.
So that'll bring up Aaron Hill. Lucroy still at first after the leadoff walk. Hill with 2 hits on the young season through the first 4 games of the schedule. Had a hit taken away from him last night. Carlos Gomez made a beautiful diving catch into left center. Took a hit away from Aaron Hill. Brewers are hoping he's going to hit for power this year. Coming to Milwaukee from Arizona. Rolls over one. Slow roller. Balbuena makes a play, and Pfister threw 2 with no runs and only 1 walk allowed. In the first inning, lead 2-0 over the Brew Crew as we head to the top of the 3rd. A reminder that this week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now. Catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. Stocking caps are on, rightly so. Temperature in the low 30s outside Miller Park. It can only heat up Miller Park about 30 degrees when you get some bodies in here. So it's mid 60s right now inside, which is a-okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
compared to what it could be.
I tell you, walking out of the ballpark last night, how about that shock to the system? I didn't even know what was going on out there. I didn't know it was that cold or it was snowing. Well, you walk out of the doors here and boom, hits you.
An eye opener.
Boy.
George Springer leads off for Houston.
Had the ice scraper out.
Man, that's the first time I've ever had to scrape ice off my vehicle after a baseball game.
Yeah.
Just use a credit card. There's a swing and a miss. And it's 0-2. I've already taken the ice scraper out of my car, which was a bad call.
See, you should know better than that. You've been around here long enough.
I have. It's really unacceptable.
Take it out in July.
It's kind of a symbolic thing.
You needed it last night, though. Boy. Thank goodness for Miller Park.
Oh, man, no telling.
There was a number of times back at Old County Stadium you had to scrape some stuff off your windows. Not necessarily all snow.
Here's a 1-2, and Peralta misses high.
Depends on how the game went that night.
I was watching the Indians and the White Sox today, and Chris Sale was pitching for the White Sox, his second start. He won the game, by the way. If you haven't seen Chris Sale, he's about as nasty as it gets. He's a left-hander, and I can't even imagine facing him or how anybody even gets a hit off Sale. He actually allowed 3 runs to the Indians today, but the White Sox won that game 7-3. But it was a cold afternoon in Chicago, and they played in the snow last night.
Yeah, it was a little bit better than last night, I was going to say.
He goes. Springer strikes out, and Peralta with that slider.
Yep, that's what he needs. He needs that pitch. That's been the pitch that he's been looking for. Had a tough time with it in spring training. First start of the year wasn't too bad once in a while, but there you go. A good sharp break to it. Off the outside corner with 2 strikes, and he gets the strikeout.
Carlos Correa with 1 away. He walked his first time up. He's off to a great start. He has 7 hits already. He's getting on base at a clip over 400. He's got some extra base hits as well in there with 3 homers. So his slugging percentage, Rock, is 1,000 right now.
Well, hits the ball from line to line. You know, good gap power and a lot of poise. Has a good understanding of his strike zone already at 21. Poise and leadership at his age. That's what everybody talks about with Correa in that Astros dugout.
Ooh, almost. And he goes. Dan Bellino, first base umpire. That's back-to-back strikeouts for Peralta, and 2 on the slider. A good sign.
Yep, Dan Bellino rings him up. Dan Bellino had a good night on the bases last night. Not just that play to end the game, but there were a number of very close plays at second base that Craig Counsell wanted to take a look at, and he ended up getting him right. There's that slider again, and Correa not able to hold up.
Colby Rasmus now on the first pitch. Fly ball into left center, hit pretty well. Newhouse on the run and is going to watch this one go out. Colby Rasmus makes it 3-0 Houston, jumping on the first pitch.
Yep, slider, and Colby Rasmus went down and got it and shot it out of here to the opposite field. A lot of sliders for Peralta in this inning. A couple of strikeouts, but Rasmus able to take him out of the yard.
First home run of the year for Rasmus.
And check it out. Here it is. Slider coming. You see the dot, and it doesn't do much. Kind of a hanger. And Colby Rasmus didn't try and pull it. Knocked it out of here to left center.
And now Tyler White. Now Rasmus in the middle of the controversy last night. The man who had the slide that resulted in the call, the interference call. And the double play that ended the game. So it was a walk-off
interference
slide
call.
rule interference. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
No controversy. It was pretty much cut and dried, wasn't it?
Yeah, that part of it was. You're right.
I thought the Astros handled it pretty well, though. I mean,
Sure.
I think every one of them, to a man, was understood that that is the rule. Just the kind of the way it's being used and dictated, that it's kind of in question with players, but it is what it is, and that's exactly what A.J. Hinch said last night. Players have to be aware of what's going on. They have to understand that rule, and don't forget it when they're going into second base.
Yeah, the best metaphor was, well, you may not like driving 55 miles an hour, but you better.
That's the law, right?
In some places.
Right.
Because they will enforce it this year. So you may not like the slide rule. I don't think anybody does. I don't think. I mean, everybody you talk to, they want things to go back to the way they were, but give the umpire a little more leverage and leeway to make a call if it looks like it was a slide to take out a base runner, make the call on the field. But as White draws the walk, I will say this, though, it's nothing new. I mean, this is anytime you change a rule, it has to be agreed upon. This has been discussed over and over in the players union. Accepting this, wanting this to go the direction to protect the players. That was the play last night. It would have been the second out with the Astros rallying and down 2.
A couple of things that you see there. Colby Rasmus not being able to maintain a connection to the bag, and he lifted his leg up a little bit to try and disrupt VR. VR had no intention of throwing to first base on that, but that ended the game. Good thing for the Brewers too, because the Astros were on a runaway freight train in that 9th inning.
Yeah, they really were. They had scored 4. They had 2 on. So the scenario would have been 2 outs, first and third, and down 2 at that particular moment. A pop up by Gomez. That is going to end up in the seats. Carlos down to a knee. Yep, the new rule, the 601J. Always like bona fide in the rule book. That's a first. And those are the 4 bullet points, and these are what the umpires are looking at. And again, I think in defense of the umpires, this is a rule that came about through the major league clubs and the players union. They agreed to the rule. Umpires are there to enforce it. They're a little bit incredulous on the discussion about it because they're just there to enforce it, what they see, and coming off the bag, it's an easy call.
Yeah.
So I don't think the umpires, I don't think they have an opinion whether they like it or not. Their whole response is we are the enforcer of the rules, and that's what we do.
All the new rules are pretty much taking any command or control the umpires have in the game and sitting there right in the seats in New York. The umpires in New York are making these decisions, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
That's the element that it takes it to review.
Everything's not black and white in this game. It's not black and white in anything, really. It's, there's gray area in everything you do, and baseball is no different.
Well, I've always been a fan and a proponent of replay, and we've in our time here together we've seen replay come into play, and I remember, though, I give Bud Selig a lot of credit because when he put the replay in on the boundary rules for home runs, I remember a quote he had, I think he had on our air actually, I'm sure he said it other places, but he said, I've been hesitant because once you open that up, it opens up a Pandora's box, and we're not necessarily in Pandora's box, but we're close.
Yeah, it's coming.
A lot of stuff to talk about as Gomez strikes out and the inning ends. 1-0 after the Colby Rasmus home run with 2 outs in the 3rd. And our Carshoot.com trivia question: which MLB ballpark was the last to install an all-dirt infield? I believe that just happened.
Yeah, I was watching that game today.
So sit on that one. We'll get the answer to you at some point whenever our producer Brent Reeland remembers to put it back up. That could be in the 9th inning. We don't know.
A lot going on down there.
Brent Reeland and Renardo Lowe manning the truck. Our producer and director and our great crew here at Fox Sports Wisconsin at Miller Park. Peralta trying to get it going offensively. That's high and deep. Did he get that one? Rasmus going back, and at the warning track he makes a catch. Wow.
Almost.
That was way up there.
You figured that at some point Willie Peralta was going to get a hold of one. He did there. Just got under it a little bit too much. That's the way he hits him in batting practice. There's that curveball from Doug Fister that hangs up into Willie's eyes, and he puts a nice swing on that baseball. Good balance. Check this out. That's a pretty good swing. Little back leg swing, BA. That's a BP swing.
He is impressive in batting practice. I'll give him that. But the batting practice to game correlation has not been good for Willie Peralta.
The velocity gets you.
I told him I'm not selling him hard anymore on the air. I walk away impressed every time he takes BP, but I'm waiting now. Jonathan Villar, the former Astro, steps in with 1 out, batting 9th. Switch hitting shortstop. He's really playing well to start the season. Drops a bunt down. Bunts it foul.
Smart player is what he is. I mean, just trying to get something going, get the top of the order up with 1 out. He's got a tremendous throwing arm, good soft hands. He's done a nice job over at shortstop.
He's hearing all of the same things this year with the Brewers. Orlando Arcia, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, starting the season at AAA, that he heard last year when he was the starting shortstop for the Astros. Hearing all of these superlatives about this young shortstop Carlos Correa coming up. And Correa would come up and he would take Villar's job. Villar became expendable, and the Brewers in a very similar position, needing someone to man the position until Arcia is ready. But it doesn't seem to bother him much.
He's getting playing time in the major leagues.
And he's going to roll that one through for a base hit. He's swinging it well. He's playing good defense. Off to a good start. A 1-out single here in the 3rd.
Yeah, first hit for Milwaukee, and went down and got a curveball. Switch hitter, and it does a pretty good job from both sides of the plate. Hangs right in there, stays down, and able to find a hole in the right field. So the Brewers have good speed at first. Top of the order coming up.
Domingo Santana lined out his first time up, hit a bullet right to Altuve at second base. Villar is a guy that will run. He's a stolen base threat for the Brewers. Not sure how they'll play it here down 3-0 early in the game. Santana's got terrific power. Brewers got some home runs in their lineup for sure, up and down the lineup.
Well, Fister holds runners pretty well. He's relatively quick to home plate. We saw Jason Castro make some terrific throws last night, throwing out a couple of base runners trying to steal. No outs on the bases when you're down by 3.
There was a year when Fister was on top of his game, when he was very stingy with the home run ball. Some of it had to do with the ballpark he pitched in Seattle. But he led the American League one year in home runs per 9, fewest home runs per 9, half a home run, or probably better stated, a home run every 18 innings pitched, and that was the best ratio in all of baseball for pitchers. That number jumped up significantly last year with the Nationals, which is also a pitcher-friendly ballpark. But he gave up a home run about 1.2 per 9 innings, which is the highest mark of his career. His strikeouts were down, and that ground ball percentage was under 30% last year when it had been over 50. So this is a significant season for him at 32 years of age, trying to turn his career around.
He only made 15 starts last year with the Nationals after going 16-6 the year before with Washington.
And a 2.41 ERA in 14. Actually garnered a few Cy Young Award votes in 2014. He's been tough so far. A couple of shutout innings. Brewers just got their first hit. VR takes off. The pitch is outside. Ball 4. So 2 on with 1 out, and Scooter Gennett coming up.
2 walks for Pfister, unusual for him. Normally the guy's going to pound the strike zone, get the ground ball outs.
Gennett grounded out. He pulled one on the right side of the infield. It was actually a 6-3 putout, but the Astros had a shift on. Shortstop Correa was on the second base side of the bag. And Gennett jumps on the first pitch, base hit, and they're going to hold VR, and now Santana never stopped, and they're going to have a chance at a play out there, but that will allow a run to score. Santana had his head down and did not see the stop sign up ahead from Ed Cedar.
Yeah, you got to be looking at what's going on in front of you, and Santana just took for granted that Eddie Cedar was going to be waving around VR, and he did not. You know, down by 3 runs. You got Ryan Braun coming up. You don't be making any outs on the bases. Spring with a pretty good arm. He gets there quickly. It would have been close at home plate. But the Brewers able to get a run on the board. No RBI for Gennett, but a run does score.
And VR comes all the way around after a single, scores the first run. But a base running mistake by Santana with Ryan Braun coming up. Maybe down toward the bottom of the order you'd see Ed Cedar wave him home.
All right.
But you got Braun and Lucroy, and you're looking at bases loaded and 1 out with Braun and Lucroy coming up. So you'll take your chances that those two who are paid to drive in runs would do just that.
And Ryan got caught trying to steal a base last night. And right before Carter hit a home run.
Base running mistake or not, it was impressive to see Domingo Santana kick it into 5th gear. He was flying. Took off from first, and those long strides, he's fun to watch run. Now Braun could tie it with 1 swing of the bat. As Pfister looks for that outside corner. That's what he struck out Braun with in the first inning. He got him looking.
Yeah, Pfister threw one that caught plenty of the plate. I think Ryan Braun got caught looking for something else. Threw him a fastball for strike 3.
It's one thing about Braun. He's so impressive just through the years. This is his 10th year in the big leagues. And most of his home runs to the opposite field are fastballs, and breaking balls end up on the pull side.
Yep, hangers.
That's just a testament to his swing. And he's got the kind of power that can go out of any ballpark anywhere. That's what makes him such a dangerous hitter.
Now, the one thing that Ryan Braun does, as well as anybody that I've seen in a Brewers uniform, is take that pitch away and just hit a rocket right over the first baseman's head, a line drive like a left-handed pull hitter would hit, and whistle one in the corner in right field. You don't see right-handed hitters do that very often. Now, you hit to the opposite field, you get under it most of the time, and you might get some doubles, but not those line drive bullets. Bronny does that all the time.
So hitting coach Darnell Coles, who has worked with some of the great right-handed hitters, and Braun chases this time. Pfister strikes him out. Castro slapped the tag on him going by to secure the K, and the inning is over. Brewers have a base running blunder. They do get one, however, and it's 3-1.
Line in the game from a pitching standpoint is being able to execute, and if we can execute, if we can feel confident, if we can, I talk a lot about trying to find quiet before we make a pitch. If we can do those things, then we'll execute, and if we kind of stick with our strengths and do what we're good at doing, then anything can happen. I think if we get outside of that, that's when things typically start to go on their side a little bit.
Brewers' new pitching coach, Derek Johnson, DJ, and his first year as a major league pitching coach, and coming with rave reviews out of spring training. He is a mechanics guru, and as you see there, he does get between the ears a lot. I love that phrase. I've never heard it before, but find the quiet. Yeah. Find the quiet.
Slow the game down is what he's talking about, and they do say about Derek Johnson that he brings a different way of talking about pitching to light, thinks out of the box quite a bit. Tries to get these guys thinking in a calm fashion and slow the game down a little bit, and your pitchers will take care of everything else.
Luis Valbuena leads off for the Astros. We play in the 4th inning from Miller Park. 3-1 Houston. They got 2 in the first. Sac flies from Rasmus and Tyler White, and then Colby Rasmus hit a 2-out homer in the 3rd inning. The Brewers just scored. Ran themselves out of a potential big inning, however.
And one thing we didn't talk about, again, Scooter Gennett right on a fastball, and he continues to swing the bat well. Hits one hard in the right field. Stay hot, kid. Talking to Craig Counsell before the game today, he's very happy with his 1 through 4 in that batting order. Actually 1 through 5, very consistent. He likes it. He doesn't see it changing anytime soon, and that's what you like already early this season when you've got a rebuilding situation going. Top of your order pretty well set. He likes it.
Valbuena rolls out. That was the third baseman Hill over there on the shift. So a 5-3 put out Rock with an asterisk. All the shifting has disrupted the old scorebook.
Right, and you look in the scorebook and you think, oh, I hit one to left, third base. Right. Yeah, right down the line. Okay.
So Peralta has his first out. Counsell has always felt that this is going to be a lineup that scores some runs, hits some home runs. There are a lot of strikeouts in the lineup.
He's been very pleased about his team's ability to get on base. They haven't always been able to execute and drive in the runs, but Brewers have had men on base quite a bit in the first 4 games. Haven't had too many 3-up, 3-down innings. There's been activity on the bases.
I think one thing we saw last year, and one thing the Brewers certainly try to avoid this year, is those early deficits. And like today, the Brewers are down 3-1, but when you're down early, and that happens regularly, as it did last season, it puts so much pressure on your offense.
It takes away your running game, too. It takes away your aggressiveness on the bases, and that makes the team look like they're flat. But when you're down 3-4 runs, you're sitting there in the 4th, 5th, 6th innings. You just can't make any outs on the bases. And you're going station to station waiting for the big hit, and when it doesn't come, that's when everybody says your team looks flat. But when you're playing from behind, you got to be careful. Got to play it safe.
Peralta facing the Astros catcher Jason Castro, who bunted for a single his last time up, and he walks. So Willie issues his 3rd walk.
Hey, tomorrow's vintage Brewer bobblehead day at Miller Park, courtesy of Chevrolet. The Brewers and the Astros close out their series with a Sunday matinee, and all fans will receive an old-fashioned bobblehead featuring the crew's 1980s uniforms. Go to Brewers.com for tickets.
There's a bunt, and Peralta will make the play. Pfister, the pitcher, is retired. Sacrifice bunt for him. And that'll put Castro at second base. So 2-men are out. Back to the top of the order. Jose Altuve. A hitting machine, Jose Altuve. Last 2 years, he's combined for 425 hits, most among all big leaguers.
He's been real aggressive in this series. Not a guy that walks a lot either for a leadoff hitter.
That's what's so impressive about his high batting average, career batting average. Won a batting title a couple of seasons ago. Hit .341 for the Astros in 2014.
Highest walk total for Altuve back in 2012, 40. And he plays every day.
Well, he's got 4 hits this year. This is game 5. Had a hit earlier in the game, a single, a stolen base, and he scored a run. And this is where he's dangerous in a spot like this. 2 outs. You're looking at the finish line to get through an inning. And a guy who figures to put the ball in play, and he is extremely fast. Gets a lot of infield hits. There's a strike with a fastball.
That's a good one right there. One of his best, right on the inside corner.
So Altuve made it to the big leagues in 2011. Since 2013, it's a runaway for the most hits in the big leagues. Look at those names on that list as well. Robbie Cano and Adrian Beltre, Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah.
Significant. Steve Reich on the corner, 2-2.
Yeah, fastball in, fastball away, and Altuve taking a couple of strikes. Didn't think it was a strike. That was one of Willie's best fastballs tonight, 96 miles an hour.
Willie shook off Lucroy. See what he wants here. 2-2 pitch, slider, and it's fouled off. Altuve able to stay alive. "5'5" and a star in the big leagues. That's what you love about this game. Last year, Altuve not only won the Silver Slugger Award, given to the best hitter at a specific position, he was also the Gold Glove Award winner. So the best defender at second and the best hitter at that position.
Won a batting title a couple of years ago.
Yeah. From Venezuela, and now a 3-time All-Star. And you know when you get your name on your protective padding, you're a big leaguer.
Yeah.
You're not just a big leaguer, you're an all-star.
You've arrived.
Name and number. Full count. Did you ever have your name on anything you owned in the big leagues that was like that, equipment-wise?
That I didn't put on myself with a Sharpie?
Right.
No, they didn't do a whole lot of that back then.
Yeah, you didn't get a lot of that.
No.
Back in your day.
Right.
You didn't ever have the sweatbands with your face on it?
No.
Payoff pitch and a call. Strike 3. Altuve didn't like the call, but Peralta hits the edge and puts up a 0 in the 4th. 4th strikeout for Willie Peralta. Slider right on the corner. Good pitch. Headed to the bottom of the 4th inning from Miller Park. And we remind you that if you can't watch the games on television, you can now stream games live on your mobile device. Just go to your app store and download the free Fox Sports Go app. Log in and stream the Brewers wherever you go. Bernie's fired up tonight. He is excited. He's feeling like some home runs are coming. From on high up there in the chalet.
Not wearing a lederhosen like last night, right?
What was that, Rock? A lederhosen?
Never mind.
Lucroy leads off.
What were you thinking about?
Trying to figure out how to spell lederhosen. Do you get more points for that in Scrabble than Newhouse?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a really good word. Actually, that plays well in Scrabble.
By the way, let's play on the flight to St. Louis.
Okay.
I've got it on the iPad.
All right. 45 minutes for dinner at Bailey's Range. One of my favorite stops. Lucroy hammers one into the gap left center. And that's going to go all the way into the wall. Gomez will get a chase. Jonathan Lucroy with a stand-up double to start the fourth. His first double of the year.
Yeah, pulled the hands in on that two-seamer and just hit a rocket out there in the center. Hit it so hard that even Carlos Gomez couldn't catch up to it and make a play. You see Lucroy, that ball down and in, and the way he pops those hips open and leads with the knob of the bat and just hits a bullet out there in the center field. Now the Jonathan Lucroy salute. Guy can hit. Off to a pretty good start this year.
Now Chris Carter. And a big swing by Carter. Trying to make it 3 for 3. 3 straight games with home runs. Carter's second career home run off Steve Pfister. His second career home run while a member of the Oakland A's. That was back in 2010. It's a good memory to salt away. Pfister was pitching for the Mariners back then. Chris Carter tops the home run leaderboard. Scooter Gennett does not approve of this, but somebody had to be in that top spot.
Alphabetical.
Or whoever's batting. I think they should go by size, stature.
Oh well.
Because, you know, Scooter Gennett 2 home runs is more impressive than Chris Carter 2 home runs.
So he should be on top?
I would say. I mean, that's just my own personal thoughts. We had a big discussion about it on the conference call this morning.
I'll bet tomorrow that's going to be the way it's going to be unless Chris hits one here. You do have a lot of pull around here.
Okay.
Guys in the truck.
I see that. See, you say things like that and people believe that that's the truth.
Men and women in the truck, I should say.
We all bow down to the member of the Brewers Wall of Honor, Bill Schroeder. He's got a nice plaque here in the booth. We all walk in. Just like tapping on the Clemson Rock, we tap on the plaque.
Yeah, I was listening to the orange and white game on the way into the ballpark. Spring football, come on.
Come on, man. It's a little much. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. Pfister strikes him out. And Pfister now with 5 punch-outs in the game.
Curveballs and sliders been pretty good tonight. I mean, his curveball is about as good as it's been in a while. Scatter report on Pfister is not too many curveballs. He's been throwing a number of them. There's a slider off the outside corner. Carter swings through it. You got Ryan Braun on the curveball earlier, or last inning.
So here is Kirk Newhouse now. So according to our crack statistician, Rick Ramirez, Newhouse is a 17-point Scrabble number. Lederhosen is just 14.
Oh.
So there's your winner. Just can't use those names, right? Our biggest challenge this spring was, as we were looking up information on Newhouse, was trying to get around the autocorrect that would turn Newhouse into nice hips.
I spell the tough names phonetically in my scorebook.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's N-E-W-E-N-H-U-I-S. I learned that from Pat Hughes. Spelled Dale Swaim, S-W-A-I-M.
Okay. One and two on Newhouse. And Pfister gets another one. Boy, he is racking up the Ks. And not overpowering, but 6 strikeouts now for Doug Pfister.
Yeah, ate him up inside. He got Newhouse on the inside corner. Just couldn't get his arms extended. Punched about last time on a pitch away.
You see Pfister grips the baseball in the changeup grip before every pitch. Brewers need a big hit. Down 2 here in the 4th. And Hill rolls over one to short. Correa makes the play up the line. And White able to keep the tag on him to end the inning. Strikeouts and groundouts, and the Brewers let a leadoff double go by from Lucroy.
We head to the fifth. The Astros leading this one 3-1. Tonight we highlight the Brewers Community Foundation as they harness the pride, passion, and commitment of Brewers fans, players, and other supporters to positively impact the community. All season long, events such as the BCF Drive for Charity, Davey Nelson's golf outing, the Famous Racing Sausages 5K, and the 50-50 raffle support nonprofit organizations in our community. So a big thank you to all the fans who participate in those endeavors all season long.
All right, Sophia, thanks. And here we go to the fifth now. Willie Peralta down 3-1 to Houston. And he'll have George Springer to lead off. Key inning for Peralta. He's got 2, 3, 4 in the lineup coming up. Springer, Correa, and Rasmus all have been on. Springer singled and scored in the second inning.
Yeah, pitch count in much better shape than it was in his first start. Really had 83 pitches through 4 innings. This might very well be his last inning. He's due to lead off the next inning. We'll see how it goes.
Peralta in his first 4 innings has allowed 8 base runners and 3 runs. Astros got 2 in the first. RBIs from Rasmus and White on sacrifice flies, and then Colby Rasmus hit a home run with 2 outs in the third inning. That 5-pitch second inning was interesting because there were 2 hits in that inning, and then a double play ended it from Altuve. George Springer hit 20 homers in his rookie year 2 years ago. Leadoff walk. Never a good thing when you're in the middle of a lineup, especially.
They have 4 walks and 4 strikeouts now for Willie tonight.
He's had a walk in each of the last 3 innings. So here's Carlos Correa, who has walked and struck out. Carlos Correa in his first 2 games of the season had 5 hits and 3 home runs. He's got 2 hits since. Had a couple of those last night, or both of those last night. Didn't get called up until June last year. Made his debut June 8th and still won the Rookie of the Year in the American League.
Yeah, 21 years old, doesn't turn 22 until the latter part of September. Amazing.
He hit 22 homers last year in the big leagues with the Astros. Again, didn't make his debut until June 8th. He hit 10 home runs in the minor leagues leading up to his promotion. So yeah, 32 homer season. 279 with 22 homers, 68 runs batted in essentially a half a season in Houston.
Yeah, a lot of really good young talent in the major leagues these days, isn't there? And they're bringing them up younger and younger. Now, back 20 years ago, you would never imagine a 21-year-old in the big leagues. Of course, Robin Yount did it.
And not just, though, in the big leagues, but in a leadership role. His nickname is El Capitan.
Yeah.
The captain. Former first pick in the first round. There goes the runner. Springer. Hit and run was on, and Correa fouls it back.
He had a good pitch to hit, too. Astros very aggressive. I mean, they'll figure out a lot of different ways to try and put runs on the board. They like to run, take the extra base. Always a risky proposition to be running with this guy at the plate.
A leadoff walk. Good catch over there by Carter. Saving Peralta from an error. Astros lead 3-1. Second of this 3-game series. We're back at it tomorrow afternoon right here on Fox Sports Wisconsin with Jimmy Nelson and Dallas Keuchel. Great pitching matchup tomorrow. Runner goes. Lucroy's got a chance here. The throw in and out of the glove of Jeanette. And into center field, and Springer will end up at third base.
Yeah, that's one that Luke should have had. I mean, he had him. Ball sailed on him. Scooter Jeanette let it go off his glove. I think he was trying to apply the tag a little bit too soon. Check out the throw. Arm drops just a little bit. Watch the ball sail. And Scooter Jeanette trying to make the tag, catch the ball at the same time, missed it. That'll be an E2, I think. Good throw, gets him easily.
And Jeanette just got to get your feet set. Better footwork. Should have been an out. Wasn't a perfect throw, but it didn't have to be. It's those little things. They change games. Get it out there. You got a lead man out, a 2-strike count on the hitter. It could be an easy inning for Peralta. Now he's going to have to make some high stress pitches in this 5th inning, and a runner at third and nobody out forces the infield in for the Brewers. Opens up some holes.
If nothing else, you got to catch the baseball. If you don't feel as though you can make a play, you get there a little bit late. Catch the baseball first, then apply the tag. Those are the kind of things that Craig Counsell just burns them up. And mistakes like that shouldn't be made. Unforced errors, really.
Little jam shot roller foul.
Still has good life on that fastball, Willie Peralta. 96. In on the hands.
And it comes with some B's, as the hitters would say. Get in on those hands and sting those hands for a while. Full count. Runner at third. And on the ground, VR makes the play. Runner not going, and they get the out.
Yeah, sweet out there is VR.
Wow, what a play that was. And Springer inexplicably held his ground and cannot score the run.
Man, that's a heck of a play right there, and obviously not the contact play. Springer just kind of flat-footed out there. They are able to look him back and get the out at first base. That's a heck of a play. Slider from Willie Peralta. And check this out. Well done.
He has a cannon.
He's got good range. He's got soft hands and a terrific throwing arm.
Well, one out with a runner at third. Here's Colby Rasmus. Not only do the Brewers have their infield in, they have their infield in a shift with the infield in. You don't see this much. Rasmus is not a guy that'll wait around long. He is typically up there hacking. First strike he sees. And he hit a first pitch offering from Peralta for a home run his last time up. A first pitch slider.
Count in his favor here. Yeah, Willie might be pitching around him just a little bit. They got a pretty good hitter on deck, though.
A rookie, but a rookie who is off to a great start. And Rasmus swings 3-0 and launches one. That is way back and gone. A 2-run shot. And that one hurts. 5-1 Houston. As Rasmus with the green light got something off speed and didn't miss it.
That's one of the longer home runs we've seen here in a couple of years to right field. That was way back in that second deck. 3-0 changeup. I mean, not a bad pitch if you're Willie Peralta. What do you think? He's thinking on fastball, right? Goes with the changeup and he hits it a mile. A long one to right. A 3-0 changeup.
And they're asking him, did you really just swing at a 3-0 changeup?
Maybe go from 96 to 84. You throw that pitch. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. And he just hits it a mile. Who would have thunk?
And now Tyler White blisters one to center field. That's way back. And that one is long gone. Boy, this guy is a force. And it's just coming every night for Tyler White. That's his third home run. He's hit 3 in as many games. A no doubter to center field. It's one of the greatest starts ever for a Houston Astro to a career.
Right down the middle, and Tyler White takes it right back into center field off the batter's eye. Out there in center. And the Brewers trying to get somebody loose in a hurry out there in the bullpen.
Yeah, that had some heat on it when it hit the batter's eye. And Craig Counsell is going to make a double switch here, going to the home plate umpire. So Willie Peralta's struggles continue. Roughed up in his opening day start against the Giants, and the same here against the Astros. Blaine Boyer next on the mound for Milwaukee. And back to the drawing board for Willie Peralta. A pitching change with 1 out in the 5th. Yadiel Rivera will enter the game. And Counsell will head to the mound. We'll take a timeout. We'll set up Blaine Boyer after this. Milwaukee Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Hupy and Abraham. 1-800-800-5678. Hupy and Abraham. Tell them you mean business. Cold night downtown Milwaukee, just a few miles from there. Miller Park, and cold night for Willie Peralta as well. 6 runs allowed and a couple of home runs in this inning. Yadiel Rivera comes into play third. New pitcher Blaine Boyer on the double switch. And Carlos Gomez at the plate with the bases clean now. So Counsell will put the pitcher in Aaron Hill's spot, 7th in the batting order. Rivera will lead off the 5th inning. Still got a lot of game to play yet. If the Brewers can find a way to quiet down these Astro bats. Six runs on 7 hits against Peralta tonight. Right off the end of the bat with the shift on. Jeanette's throw is in time.
And not used to making a throw that long, is he? Scooter Jeanette. Yeah, Blaine Boyer, his 3rd appearance so far this year. He's been working quite a bit. Had a good year with the Twins last year, a non-roster invite to spring training. And last pitched on Wednesday against the Giants. Veteran right-hander Blaine Boyer.
So 2 men are out now, and here is Luis Valbuena. It's good to see Yadiel Rivera get into a game. This is his first playing time of the year. Counsell hinted that Rivera might be in the starting lineup tomorrow with the left-hander on the mound. This guy was impressive in spring training.
Nobody hotter in spring training for the Brewers, and Rivera hits big home runs. And you hope he didn't lose his edge by not getting any at bats.
Get a couple tonight. Craig Counsell told me before the game, he said Yadiel Rivera, and Counsell's not a guy who goes to the superlatives very often, but he said Yadiel Rivera was the best shortstop in the big leagues in the Cactus League in Arizona. He said there was nobody better throughout the month of spring training games. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
He hit well. He hit for power. Showed great range.
And I'm not sure who has a better arm, VR or Rivera.
Yeah, they say Rivera is just a touch better, but I'd have to see that for myself. What I've seen of VR.
Depends on who you talk to, right?
That's right. Yeah, VR disagrees. I think they're both up there in the plus range. And even though Rivera's playing third base, that's only in technical terms, the way the Brewers are shifting against the Astros.
He's feeling comfortable right now, isn't he?
That's right where he belongs at shortstop. But he is the third baseman. Keeps an official score on his toes.
But when Aaron Hill is at third base, he's the one that's over there by second base. Now that Rivera's in the game, put him at short, they move VR over.
Now why is that?
Because VR can play shortstop. Aaron Hill not so much.
Or maybe it's because Rivera has a slightly better arm.
See, I was talking to Counsell about that today too.
Yeah, what'd he say?
VR.
Oh, really?
By a nose.
Okay.
But he says that Rivera might have the softer hands.
Oh, you've gone deep for your investigative reporting. Good for you.
Yeah, we're talking about the same guy. I mean, I was wondering, when he was going to get some playing time after that great spring, and they're both pretty good talents. A lot of upside for Yadiel Rivera.
Maybe that's why Counsell, when I went to him today and started asking him questions, said, "You too?"
See, beat you to it today.
That's your territory. I just saw him in the hallway. Valbuena skies one to center field. Newhouse easy for him, and the side is retired. Well, let's see if the Brewers got a rally in them tonight. Got a lot of baseball to play, but they are down 6-1 now. Spot on the board in the 5th inning. A couple of home runs from Rasmus and White. Rasmus is at 2 tonight. And our Carsoup.com trivia, which MLB ballpark was the last to install an all-dirt infield? That would be the Rogers Center in Toronto. They just did it this year. The Argonauts, the football team, the CFL team, was finally out of their lease, and so that's why they have waited, by the way. That's why they haven't been able to put in the dirt infield. And so that's what it looks like now. And
they still have the AstroTurf, but they have the dirt infield. Now every ballpark has the dirt infield.
Looks better.
Yeah, looks like a ballpark, more baseball field.
More
right?
aesthetically pleasing.
Right. I was watching the Red Sox feed today, and they were talking about that, and they said, talking to the players, that the infield on the turf is slow, but when it hits the dirt, it speeds up. You would think it'd be the other way around.
Something to get used to.
Yeah.
They have, remember that turf there, the Rogers Center, it's that really thick, and it's got the rubber tire beads in it.
Right.
So it's kind of a long cut of fake grass. They used to have a lot of problems with the seams in that artificial surface there in Toronto when the football team was there, and having to put the field in and out. But hopefully they've changed that. Yadiel Rivera leads off for the Brewers, his first at-bat of the season. And let's hope the off time didn't affect him much. He last played a week ago when they had an exhibition game against the AA team, Biloxi.
And it's awfully hard for a young player to sit all that time, although he's been taking his batting practice, getting extra swings in the cage. It's not the same getting game speed, but he's shown pretty good patience down in spring training. He's been able to work the count here to full.
Ball's hit well, right center field, and Rivera sends one to the wall. He's thinking about 3, and he'll hold up. Good move.
Look at it. He stays hot, doesn't he? Oh, he's something.
Brewers
sit around all week, get up there and hit a double to the opposite field. Not that easy.
By the way, partner, that is his first career double in the major leagues.
Yeah. Good for him. Two-seam fastball from Doug Fister. Taking it to the opposite field. We saw that all spring. And he sees he swing, and he can run too. He was thinking about 3, but he saw Ed Cedar put the stop sign up, down by 5 runs.
Yeah, good for him. Well, you like what you see. This guy could be a factor this year. He's got a lot of confidence going. He can play defensively. Everybody raves about his defense. If he can hit at all, you're going to see a lot of Yadiel Rivera one way or the other. Here's VR now. Brewers need to scratch a few runs across. They've had some base runners. They stranded 3. Had a leadoff double last inning from Lucroy, left him stranded. Had a base running mistake in the 3rd inning. That might have cost him a few runs. On the ground to Altuve. And there is out number 1. Rivera does advance to 3rd. And here comes the top of the order now. Santana, the former Astro, up there hacking on the first pitch. Domingo is the only one of the 4 that came from Houston to Milwaukee that has made it to the big leagues. Others are all in AA to start the year. One of those players, Brett Phillips, who could be the center fielder of the future for the Brewers, had a great day yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Playing center field and batting 3rd. Correa. And out number 2, but a run will come in. Santana with an RBI. Astros will gladly give up the run for the outs at this point. It is 6-2. And Santana with his 3rd RBI of the season.
You take the opportunities when you can get them. Lead off double, get them over, get them in.
Base is empty. Pfister back in the windup for Scooter Gennett. And he hits one deep to right as he done it again. Scooter Gennett, his 3rd home run of the season. Man, oh man, this is some kind of story developing with Scooter Gennett. His 2nd hit of the game, his 3rd homer, and the Brewers are within 3.
Yeah, went down and got a curveball and knocked it out of here. Boy, I tell you, Scooter Gennett hitting the weight room in the offseason has certainly helped. Another big fly. Check it out. And Scooter, this pitch is 68 miles an hour down. He got it off the end a little bit, but still strong enough to muscle it out of here just over that right field fence. Number 3 for Scooter.
2 outs. Brewers within 3 now. Ryan Braun. Think about this. Scooter Gennett, the most homers he's ever hit, 9 in a season. That was 2 years ago, and he played 137 games. He only hit 6 home runs last year, and he's halfway to that mark, and we're still in week 1.
Pretty good start, but how about that shortstop over in Colorado?
Trevor Story.
6 homers?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, 6 home runs in his first 4 games. But this little guy right here is making some noise for the Brewers to start the season. The home run leader for the Brew Crew right now. Braun breaks his bat. Correa backhands it. And he's got him for the out to end the inning. Well, the Brewers scratch a couple of cross. They get an RBI ground out from Santana, and then Scooter Gennett on a first pitch breaking ball sends one out. 6-3 Astros, 5 in the books at Miller Park. Be the year of Scooter. We shall see. It's been a great first week. He's hit 3 homers. But how about this guy in Colorado? Trevor Story, the man tasked with replacing Troy Tulowitzki. Kid who was drafted out of high school in Texas, in Irving, Texas. He's hit 6 home runs in his first 4 Major League games. That's the first player in the history of Major League Baseball to do that. Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame, requested his bat, his batting gloves, and his batting helmet.
Yeah, you think he's going to give up that bat?
He gave up everything but the bat.
Yeah, no way he's giving that up. I tell you, see those home runs? I mean, they're blasts.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw him in spring training. He looked good then, but boy, continue to do it during the regular season. He's been playing a pretty good shortstop. They're not talking too much about missing Tulowitzki over there.
Yeah, they always thought that Trevor Story, we saw a lot of him this spring, and he he's known as a plus defensive shortstop. They were just concerned whether he'd hit in the big leagues or not in his first year, and he's off to a great start. Historic start. There is so much young talent in the big leagues right now. Castro, and here's VR winding it up and throwing him out. The benefits of having an arm like that with the shift on, and Castro is retired.
And never panicked. He knew he had enough arm to be able to make that play easily. Had the catcher getting down the line. No panic. A lot of guys are going to be trying to speed up a little bit. I got him. I just dig it in and off balance, throw a bullet to first base. And had Jose Reyes not had the problems he's been having, Trevor Story would be in the minor leagues.
That's true. Here's Matt Duffy. Takes a strike. Yeah, Jose Reyes, by the way, was found not guilty of domestic violence domestic violence charge. But many feel that Major League Baseball is still going to hand down a suspension on Reyes. And so the Rockies had to make a choice. Reyes has not been with the Rockies all spring, and they went with Story, and the job's going to be his for a while now.
Yeah, you think?
I would be very surprised if Jose Reyes played a game in a Rockies uniform, or at least another game. Especially with his comments last year. He wasn't real pleased that he was traded from the Blue Jays to the Rockies in the first place. So he is not well thought of there as it is. Blaine Boyer in relief of Willie Peralta, and trying to hold things down to give his offense a chance to come back. Brewers just scored twice last inning. On the ground to Rivera. 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, with those two guys over there, Chris Carter is going to be able to break in a couple of first basemen's mitts very quickly. And you can hear the pop of the glove all the way up here.
I mean, it exposes the baseball nerddom that we have, but it's exciting to see throwing arms like this. I mean, these are just, that is easy cheese coming from Rivera and VR.
Carter going to get a bone bruise over there. Give me some padding in his glove.
Altuve now with 2 outs. Well, for this Brewers team to contend, and part of the big plan moving forward is to tighten things up defensively. They feel like as these talented young prospects come up, this is going to be an elite defensive team. They hope to be, and they're preaching that. And I'll give a lot of credit to Carlos Subero, Brewers first base coach who handles the infielders. He has spent a lot of time, many hours, as you see him positioning the infielders there, but a lot of time working with these infielders. Jeanette is a below average infielder, and so it's a big project for Subero. Little jam shot. Here's Rivera again. Got to hustle this one over, and pops that mitt again of Carter. And a 3 up, 3 down inning. So tight defense on the left side now. 3 ground ball outs over there. Inning over. Brewers coming up, bottom 6. Astros, they lead the Brew Crew in this interleague matchup at Miller Park, heading to the bottom of the sixth now. Fox Sports Supports congratulates Girls on the Run for 20 years of encouraging girls to activate their limitless potential and boldly pursue their dreams. Register now for the Girls on the Run Greater Milwaukee Spring 5K. Visit foxsportswisconsin.com and click on the upcoming events tab for details. Great program. Stand behind it. New pitcher rock is Pat Neshek. Out of the Astros bullpen, he'll get Lucroy, Carter, and Newhouse scheduled to start it for the Brewers in the sixth.
I remember him in 2014 with the Cardinals. He had a 187 earned run average in 71 games. Last year with the Astros, 66 appearances and a 3.62 ERA. You see his numbers on Wednesday against the Yankees.
Lucroy slices one foul. And quickly down, no balls, 2 strikes. Lucroy at the plate, presented by Blaze Pizza. Had his first double of the year in the 4th inning. He is still the major league record holder for doubles in a season by a catcher. Had 53 doubles 2 years ago. How cool is that to wake up every day and know that you've done something that nobody else has done at your position ever in the big leagues?
Yeah.
Jonathan Lucroy.
He doesn't care.
He will later, but not right now. You're right.
He could care less right now. Right after it happened, he did, I'm sure. But
slices that one on the run, Gomez, and he'll run it down for the out. Lucroy is out. Neshek retires Lucroy. And now we'll face Chris Carter.
Yeah, Neshek, 35 years old, grew up in Madison, Wisconsin. He's a Madison, Wisconsin guy. Currently lives in Vero Beach, Florida.
Vero Beach, a longtime spring training home of the Dodgers. Famous spring training destination.
Bounced around the Midwest a little bit. Born in Madison and graduated from high school in Minnesota.
Made an all-star team, as a matter of fact, that was at Target Field, going back to Minnesota. He's nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't see release points and deliveries like this. And he's got some velocity with it too.
Yeah, he's facing the whole time. He doesn't turn his shoulders. He doesn't turn his back to you. Very unorthodox.
He made quick work of Chris Carter. Carter strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. 2 up, 2 down for Neshek.
Yeah, that year he had with the Cardinals was pretty good. I mean, you can't get much better than that. An ERA in the 1.8. Coming out of the bullpen. Good work. There's this delivery that you'll never ever see, except for when the Astros are in town. Yeah, kind of a spinning slider, doesn't do much, but it's the delivery that messes you up.
Compared to that pitch, doesn't end up in even close to the same spot. Newhouse trying to get something going here with 2 outs. Slow bender in there, 66 miles an hour.
He gets rid of it and then he jumps at you.
One thing the Astros liked about Neshek, picking him up last year, was his first year with Houston, but he has postseason experience. And he pitched for the Astros in a couple of games in the division series last year against the Royals, but had been with the Cardinals in the postseason, a division series and a league championship series. He'd been to the postseason with the A's, and way back in 06 he was on the playoff roster for the Twins. 2006, teammates with Carlos Gomez that year in Minnesota. Kurt Newhouse with 2 away. He struck out a couple of times today as well. That 5th and 6th spot in the batting order is 0 for 5 with 5 punch-outs. Two. Newhouse rips one right field, and that ball's up and out of here. Kurt Newhouse goes deep, and the Brewers are within 2 now. Newhouse's first home run as a Brewer sends Bernie down the slide.
Yep, got a 3-1 pitch and knocked it out of here. Actually, a 3-0 pitch. And Newhouse able to get enough of it. There's a fastball, 90 miles an hour. My mistake. That was a 2-strike pitch, right?
Boy, on a line. And a home run for Newhouse. Nisha can't believe it. That was a bullet. Well, that's got to feel good. First home run as a Brewer. The former Met. And the Brewers within 2 now. And here is Ramon Flores pinch hitting for Boyer. At part of the ballpark where Newhouse just hit it out. That was one of the early changes in Miller Park. When it first opened, you had to hit it over that back wall, but they brought in that area to make a hospitality area. And so it is a short porch.
Just able to sneak over. He knew it was going to be for extra bases, but there it is. They've got it in there somewhere.
And by the way, all those bricks on the back wall, all those bricks back there are from County Stadium, which is kind of a cool feature.
Yeah.
Put those bricks in when they brought the fences in. I can't look at that wall and not have memories of Corey Hart pulling home runs back. He was the master of the right field home run saving catch here at Miller Park at 6'6". That's a cool spot.
Yeah.
Fun place to hang out.
And other than that, that's pretty much the only thing that has changed as far as the playing area goes.
Flores strikes out. Tough pitch to handle. Brewers get another one. Kurt Newhouse on a 2-strike, 2-out pitch, delivers one into the ATI zone. 6-4 Astros after 6.
4 as we head to the 7th here at Miller Park. And of the 4 prospects acquired with the Astros in the trade a year ago, Domingo Santana obviously with the big league team, and the other 3 have started the season at Double-A down with Biloxi. So Brett Phillips, earlier in the night, we told you the big night he had last night, 3 for 4, 2 runs, a double, his first home run of the season. He's hitting 4 for 8 on the season. Josh Hader, the lefty, opened up the season for them Thursday night. 4 innings of shutout ball for him. And Adrian Hauser, the 17th ranked prospect, he made his first start of the season, and it was a rough outing for him tonight. 3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 2 strikeouts for Hauser. So those 3 starting the season with Double-A Biloxi, all 3 in the top 20 of the top 30 prospects.
And Sophia, you could certainly see all 3 of those in the big leagues together at some point with the Brewers. Tyler Cravy is on the mound, just called him back up just after the season started. Brewers had to put Matt Garza on the disabled list with a shoulder injury, so Cravy took his spot on the roster and gets a chance to pitch at Miller Park once again. He's trying to keep this deficit at 2 as we play in the 7th inning.
Yeah, important innings. His first appearance this year, got called up second day of the season on Tuesday. Appeared in 11 games in spring training, made 7 starts for the Brewers last year.
He is a strike thrower. He did a pretty good job for the Brewers in a couple of unusual roles. It's really difficult to make a spot start, go back to the bullpen, not pitch for a long time, long stretches. He's glad to have a spot on the big league roster. He's still looking for his first career major league win.
How about tonight?
He was 0-8 last year and was the tough luck pitcher on a number of occasions for the Brewers last season.
He was up and down 4 different times last year, and one of the last cuts in spring training. But here he is tonight, getting his first appearance.
26-year-old right-hander Tyler Cravy. He was a starter at AAA all last year. He came up and did both in the big leagues. 7 starts last year. And he's got a strikeout to start his night.
A four-seamer on the outside corner. He doesn't throw hard. He's got a slider and a good changeup. You know, mixes it pretty well. He'll come inside once in a while, but most of the time he's going to want to try and get you out of the way. There's that four-seamer catching the edge, and it swings right through it to Springer.
And here's Carlos Correa now. Sounded like it was off the end of the bat. It's got some decent carry though, and Newhouse will run it down. So Correa jumping on the first pitch is out number 2.
Hey, tonight's time of the game winner, bullpen bar from Eau Claire, if they call the Brewers, by 8 o'clock tomorrow at 414-902-4572. They get 40 tickets to a Friday night game in the Miller Lite Beer Pen. And this offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite, the bullpen bar in Eau Claire.
Sounds like a good place to watch a ball game. It seems like a place you'd be very comfortable.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in bullpens in the big leagues. American League.
Here's Colby Rasmus. He's hit 2 home runs tonight. Has 8 career multi-homer games. He's driven in 4 runs. Had not had a homer nor an RBI coming into his game tonight. And has scratched those donuts off his stat line. Yeah, he shows bunt, trying to bunt his way on with the shift on. Bunts through it, 1-2 the count.
And normally not a good idea to try and bunt for a base hit, 2 outs and nobody on. You'd ideally like to get into scoring position, but you know, I guess with White coming up, you're in scoring position at first base.
That's true.
The way he's been swinging it.
And he has homer tonight. Tyler White, the man on deck. Cravy, a long look in. He's going through all 20 of his pitches in that sequence.
And remember, he hit a home run off of Willie Peralta on a 3-0 changeup. Let's see what they decide to give him on a 1-2 count.
Now he's got the one he wants. And it's hit sharply to center field. Newhouse slides and makes the catch. Heck of a play. Boy, a nice couple of innings there for Kirk Newhouse. First he goes deep and then comes out defensively and makes a beautiful catch. Those are the toughest outfielders, will tell you. Inning over. Rasmus robbed of a hit. 6-4 Astros. The Brewers are coming up. Milwaukee Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. And by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. Brewers with a couple of home runs tonight. Scooter Gennett and Kurt Newhouse. And inching closer to the Astros. 6-4 Houston. New pitcher Rockies Will Harris out of the Houston bullpen.
They got a loss. Picked up a loss against the Yankees on Thursday. Gave up a run in an inning a third of work. They had a terrific season last year for Houston. I mean, had a great 1.9 earned run average in 68 appearances.
Astros bullpen this early schedule has been roughed up a little bit, but they've got a lot of talent getting to the finish line. Luke Gregerson is their closer. Harris has the 7th. Yadiel Rivera leads off. He doubled his last time up. If everything goes according to plan for the Astros, it's Harris in the 7th, Ken Giles in the 8th, and then Gregerson to close it. Giles looks like a future closer, though, but he struggled as well.
Hey, back end of the bullpen is pretty solid for Houston, which means this is an important inning for Milwaukee.
Yadiel Rivera in a 1-2 count, his second plate appearance. And he chases one, a strikeout. Castro secures it at first for out number 1.
That nasty breaking ball right there. 2 strikes down in the dirt, exactly where you want it. And no chance of hanging that. Look at the way he wraps that curveball, that 12-6 rotation. And a good block by Castro behind home plate. That's a good pitch.
Astros pitching has 9 strikeouts tonight. as we play here in the 7th inning. Pfister, the starter, went 5. He punched out 6, gave up 3 earned runs. Neshek giving up a home run last inning, and now Harris. VR slaps one past third, base hit. Rasmus over to play it, holding VR to a single. And he keeps hitting. That's his 2nd hit of the game.
He just slices one right by inside the bag. Right by Valbuena. I've seen him do that a lot in spring training. He just hits it where it's pitched. He's got a base hit to right, now a base hit to left. Out of the reach of Valbuena, so the Brewers bring the tying run to the plate.
And you got some power coming up. Domingo Santana with 1 away. Astros jumped out early tonight, scoring 2 in the 1st. They led 3-0. And then it was 3-1. Brewers got one in the bottom of the 3rd inning. And then Houston put a 3 spot on the board in the 5th inning. That inning, Peralta was chased. It was 6-1, but the Brewers have answered. A 2-run 5th, and then a Newhouse homer last inning. 2-0 to Santana.
Yeah, Villa's got a big lead over there at first base. Not sure if he's going to be stealing or not, but especially with a 2-0 count to Santana, let him be selective, maybe knock one out of here.
Brewers have hit 2 tonight. Hitters count for Santana, and another check on VR. Will Harris has kind of followed the good year, bad year trend that a lot of relievers have in their careers. Had a terrific season with the Diamondbacks in 2013. And then struggled with Arizona, ended up with Houston, and as Rock mentioned, had a lights out season out of the bullpen last year. He's always been a guy to strike out a bunch of hitters. Averages about a strikeout per inning. 3-0. Santana taking all the way.
And really not a hard thrower, you know, maybe 93 miles an hour, but he's got that really good 12-6 curveball, that pitch that struck out Yadiel Rivera.
He will give up some walks. It's kind of been his Achilles heel. He didn't do it last year. He was pretty good with his command. Santana got it in on the hands a little bit, and Springer makes the play for the out. Out number 2. And here comes Scooter Gennett. And I'm sure the fans glad to see him coming up to the plate. What a start he's off to. And in the 5th inning, yet another home run for Gennett. A first pitch curveball he sends out of here.
And down, not a really bad curveball either. Just golfed it on out of here. And Scooter with number 3 on the season already.
There's been some unusual pitches hit for home runs in this game. Something you don't normally see. Unorthodox swings, like Gennett swinging at a first pitch curveball, and a 3-0 changeup that Rasmus hit out. Rasmus hit a first pitch slider out of the ballpark too. His first of his 2 home runs today.
And Neshek giving up a home run. That doesn't happen very often.
It's like the spotted owl. A rare bird indeed. Rasmus has been the star tonight for the Astros. Has driven in 4 runs. Gaudy numbers, 7 hits, 3 of those homers. All of them solo home runs. We got Ryan Braun on deck, should get something good to hit. And a swing and a miss. Big cut by Jeanette. 1-2 now.
Pitch out of the strike zone, a little too aggressive.
One of the things Craig Counsell was raving about with Jeanette in this early going is how patient he's been. He drew a walk about every 35 at bats last year. And now he's it's early, small sample size, but a walk a little over 5 at bats per walk. And that had the manager's attention more than the home runs last night. It tells him that he's seeing the ball well, and the home runs are the result of getting good pitches to hit, which means the patience to get yourself in some of those counts.
And patience begins with confidence and staying back and, you know, not moving your head, not jumping around. He's been relaxed at the plate, not a lot of movement before the ball's on its way. Swinging at strikes.
1-2 pitch, down and in. It's a good take.
That's the way hot streaks normally start, taking pitches. Talking about Scooter Jeanette's patience at the plate, making sure that you're seeing the baseball into the glove. You swing at strikes, and when you do that, good things are going to happen. At this level, they've all got the ability to do it. Just a matter of swinging at strikes.
Jeanette looking for a mistake here with 2 strikes. 2 outs in the inning. Bottom 7. Brewers down 2. And Jeanette rolls one into the shift. Altuve is there. That will retire the side. Harris hold serve, a scoreless 7th inning. Astros coming up. We go to the 8th. Next Sunday, NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing heads to Bristol starting at 11:30 a.m. Central. It's only on Fox, or you can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. 6-4, the Astros lead the Brewers as we head to the 8th inning. Tyler Cravy's back out there for his 2nd inning of work. Cravy retired the side in order in the 7th with a strikeout. He got Springer, Correa, and Rasmus. It's a great catch out there by Newhouse to end the inning.
Yeah, 3 up, 3 down. You know, first time, second time actually for Brewer pitching, and 2-3-4 net batting order.
The red hot Tyler White. There's a new nickname surfacing around Tyler White, the rookie, the Great White.
As in Shark.
We had the Shark and Jeff Samardzija here, and now the Great White has arrived. But I know you, and I know it's a little early to be dropping the Great White on it. Pop up into right, and Santana's got it. Out number 1, 4 in a row for Cravy.
Hey, the Brewers annual 5-county 5-day celebration returns Wednesday, April 20th through Sunday, April 24th, as fans save 50% on tickets for the Crew's interleague matchup with the Minnesota Twins in the weekend series with the Phillies. Reserve your spot today at brewers.com/5-county or call 414-902-4000.
The next homestand, the Brewers will be back in action here, wrapping up this homestand, the opening homestand of the year, tomorrow. There's a bunt. Gomez gets it by Cravy. Barehanded. The throw is wild, and Gomez is off to the races, thinking about third, and he's on his way. Carter's throw, the catch, the tag, and he is out at third base. Chris Carter calmly fires a strike.
Now, and A.J. Hinch might want to take a look at it, but that's Carlos Gomez in a nutshell, right? He'd like to be able to get to third base with only one out. And Carter throwing a perfect strike into third base. This is one where you just kind of eat. You just let Gomez stay at first base. And as we've seen many times, Carlos Gomez not satisfied with just one base, and they throw him out at third.
Tag on the face
relatively easily,
and no challenge from the Astros dugout. Carter with a nice strong throw all the way across the diamond. He's not known for his throwing accuracy. That's probably why Gomez took a chance. So Gomez is out, the second out. We have a pitching change as Counsell goes to the bullpen for Capuano. Counsell making a pitching change here after Gomez's mad dash ends up in and out at third base. And Chris Capuano is out of the bullpen, trying to pick up this last out of the eighth. Get the Brewers back to the dugout, down a pair.
Yeah, pretty good job by Tyler Cravy. Actually, the bullpen has been solid so far tonight with Blaine Boyer. Cravy threw well, and now it's Capuano's turn, his third appearance so far this year. One of two left-handers that work out of that Craig Counsell bullpen.
We could close the book on Cravy as Capuano takes over here with the bases empty. Cravy an inning and 2/3, 1 hit and 1 strikeout. Now put out on Gomez goes 3-5. Valbuena with 2 away. You got to give Rivera an error.
Yep, a hit, an error, and a 3-6 put out.
The hit got him to first, the error got him to second, and the put out at third base. Classic Gomez.
Got that rundown yesterday. That was exciting, and got thrown out on a bunt single. Got thrown out at third base.
That's right. Coming up for the Brewers in the bottom of the 8th, Ryan Braun, Jonathan Lucroy, and Chris Carter. There's another bunt with the shift on. Astros have certainly tried to take advantage of those shifts. Jason Castro did bunt for a hit with a shift, and we've seen 2 other Astro hitters try it.
And again, 2 outs and nobody on. Not the ideal time to be bunting for a base hit. Your manager would certainly like to see you try and get into scoring position, hit a double.
2-2. Capuano delivers outside. Well, the Brewers have some reclamation projects down in that bullpen. Great opportunities for all. Capuano and Boyer. Tyler Cravy getting another chance in the big leagues. Carlos Torres. With injury comes opportunity. Little lazy fly ball. Newhouse will run it down. Inning over. 6-4 Houston. Bottom of the 8th coming. Ryan Braun will lead off when we continue from Miller Park.
Big birthday celebration out there tonight here at Miller Park. Maybe they can cap it off with a Brewer victory. We shall see. We're getting set for Brewers Live postgame. Tell you what, Davey, 3-0 at one point. The Brewers were down, now 6-1, and then got within 6-4 here. Now they got some chances to finish things out.
That's right. They'll have the Ryan Braun leading it off when they get back. But the thing about it, partner, is that they've been able to take advantage of some opportunities. Scooter Gennett with the home run. They're swinging the bats with men in scoring position. Only that 1 inning in the 3rd when the leadoff double, he didn't score.
All right, we'll hear from Craig Counsell, get inside the clubhouse. All the usual things going on Brewers Live postgame. We think. That's what we thought last night. And then that controversial end of the game. We shall see how things pan out, B.A.
Stay on your toes. Stay on your toes, boys. Ryan Braun will lead off, and the new hurler is Ken Giles, the hard-throwing right-hander.
Yeah, the former Philly, 69 appearances for the Phillies last year and a 180 earned run average. A 6-3 record. He picked up 15 saves, making appearance number 3, but it's been a struggle for his first 2 appearances this year.
Last time he was on the mound, he gave up a 3-run go-ahead home run to Mark Teixeira of the Yankees. And a snatch him back for New York on Thursday. And Giles had a rough spring as well. Had an ERA at 6.75. He gave up 7 earned runs in just over 9 innings in his 9 outings. Many have him pegged as the future closer for the Astros. He's got a large fastball.
Yeah, he can hit triple digits. Basically, two-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider.
It was a big trade with the Phillies a season ago as Giles deals. Braun fouls it away. Gave him a wrinkle that time, a slider.
Yep, that slider. He can get that pitch up to around 88. First pitch he ever threw in Philadelphia was 100 miles an hour. Citizens Bank Ballpark.
Astros gave up a ton of prospects to get Giles, feeling they needed to shore up the end of their bullpen, including Mark Appel, who was a first-round draft pick by Houston. 5 prospects for 2 players. Giles the big piece to that one, and the only one of the big leaguers at the time. 2-2. Braun trying to reach.
There it is, 99. The story goes the first pitch in Philadelphia 100 miles an hour. The second pitch 98 and they booed him.
Those are your people, Rock. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was just sarcastic. Come on. They went nuts when they saw 100, then booed him at 98.
Again with a 2-2. A breaking ball, and Braun rolls it over to Valbuena. Throws up the line. But again, White is there to make the play. That's happened twice tonight. First out of the inning. A reminder that this week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. Here is Lucroy. Big cut on a big fastball. Last year, Giles with the Phillies in a ton of work, 69 appearances in that 1.80 ERA Rock talked about. Only gave up 2 homers all season, and he's already given up 2 in his first 2 games this year with the Astros. He's got that going. Forget about it.
That's a nasty slider. When you add that to that, upper 90s fastball, it's awfully difficult. When he's able to get close to the strike zone with that slider, he's going to be tough.
Lucroy right off the end of the bat out to Gomez, and 2 men are out. You think about the prospects that the Astros have traded away. Last year, of course, the 4 prospects traded to the Brewers in that deal for Fiers and Carlos Gomez, and then they traded 5 prospects to get Giles this offseason in December. And yet they still have one of the better farm systems in baseball. It's just how stockpiled they were. All those losing years, those 100 lost seasons. And you got to give them credit. They drafted well, produced a lot of talent that not only could be used at the major league level, but also used to acquire pieces you need.
Man, the man that was instrumental in that success is here now in Milwaukee, trying to do the same.
David Stearns, the assistant GM in Houston, taking the general manager job with the Brewers last September. Carter's in a hole, 0-2. 1-2 the count. Lays off. Count evens. Carter looking to make contact. He struck out 3 times tonight. Has hit homers in his last 2 games. Hit a 400-foot homer last night. And down he goes. Giles, impressive here tonight. I'm sure Astros fans glad to see that. That's a 1-2-3-8, and we go to the 9th. Brewers down a pair. Game summary as we go to the 9th inning. If you're just picking us up, it was a tough night for Willie Peralta and Colby Rasmus with a couple of home runs and 4 runs batted in. He also had a sacrifice fly. Didn't have a homer or an RBI coming into play tonight. And then Tyler White continues his torrid run in his first week in the major leagues. Hit his 3rd home run in as many games. Scooter Gennett with home run number 3 on the young season. And then it was Kurt Newhouse in the 6th inning. Yeah, that's been the theme tonight. The long ball. Astros up 6-4 over the Brewers. And as we go to the 9th, Capuano back on the mound. Jason Castro will lead off.
Yeah, Brewers looking to finish off a nice comeback. They were down 6-1. Only down by a couple. Important for Capuano to put up a 0 here. Like Ken Giles, nasty in that 8th inning. Goodness.
Giles retires Braun, Lucroy, and Carter. Throwing as hard as 97 miles an hour with a nasty slider. Made it look easy. Jason Castro. Astros have Evan Gattis on the disabled list. Be interesting to see when he comes back. He's in a minor league rehab situation now in Double-A, Corpus Christi. Can play first and DH. Talking about catching him again. So they'll have some decisions to make. Fly ball out to left for Braun.
Hey, reminder, tomorrow's the season's first Kids Eat Free Sunday. All kids 14 and under will get a free hot dog, bottled water, bag of apple slices, and ice cream treat, courtesy of Pick and Save, Blue Bunny, and Heinz. Great seats are still available at Brewers.com. Kids eat free at the ballpark on Sunday.
Better eat those apples too. Those aren't just for decoration, kids. You got to go for the apples first, I think.
You
hit him with the apple
you
first.
Think that's going to happen? Nothing like a hot dog at the ballpark.
And an apple.
And an apple.
Keeps the doctor away is what I hear. Marwin Gonzalez pinch hitting for the Astros. The switch hitter. Looking for his first hit. He's had a rough go of it. 6 at-bats, 4 strikeouts thus far.
Man, not too many opportunities for playing time in this lineup. So when you get an opportunity, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. You don't going to get many starts. You get up there, maybe a little over aggressive.
And Capuano falling behind 3-1. Top of the order due next. Altuve. In the 9th, the Brewers will have Newhouse, and then a pinch hitter, and then Rivera, but they could go to their bench as they get down to the bottom of their order. That's why that inning by Giles was so important for the Astros. He plows through the heart of the Milwaukee batting order. Braun, Lucroy, and Carter. Astros closer is getting ready. Luke Gregerson. Fly ball to left. That might stay playable. Braun's giving it a look, and it's into the seats. Hey, good catch up there. Good job. Two-hander, barehanded. How about the form here, Rob?
Ball hooked a little bit.
Soft hands.
You know what the key is? Don't catch the ball barehanded right in front of your face.
Braun applauding the catch.
Yeah, he liked it. Has a tendency to sneak through the hands and
facial damage. On the ground, that's going to shoot through a base hit. First of the year for Gonzalez. And a man on for Altuve now. Thanks for the tip, though, Rock, on the.
Played it off to the side. And he kind of gave a little bit to cushion the blow, and
didn't reach out, extended, and it's soft hand.
You know, my guess is that's not the first time he's done that here.
Counsel out to make another change with Altuve coming up, and he's going to bring on Michael Blazek. Pitching change in the 9th. 6-4 Astros. Blazek trying to get the last 2 outs.
of the 9th, 1 out. The Astros leading 6-4. And earlier this week, Craig Counsell had high praise for Michael Blazek, particularly for his work in the Giants series, going through the heart of the order with the 2, 3, 4 hitters, Joe Panik, Buster Posey, Hunter Pence, made terrific pitches to them. And so he said, this is a big year for Michael Blazek. He felt he really got settled last year, someone that they relied on heavily up until he was shut down with an injury. And so he said it's important for him to build on that confidence. And he feels all the guys in his bullpen have something unique. And for Blazek, it's the variety of his stuff. He feels that as having come up as a starter through the Cardinals organization, now being used as a reliever, he's got a lot of tools that he can work with.
Yeah, and getting more and more confident every time he goes out there. Remember spring training? Boy, he had a tough time of it in spring training, but once the bell rang, regular season, he has been very good. And a big spot here with the top of the order coming up for the Astros.
Got to hold him at 6. Brewers are down a pair. You saw Marisnick pinch running for Gonzalez. Altuve at the plate. Springer is on deck. Altuve's already bounced into 1 double play today. You don't see that very often with his speed. One out of 4 tonight, Altuve. Bit of a slow start for him. But he's going to hit. Try to get him out of town before he figures it out.
Yep, always has, and probably always will, particularly with the guys behind him in that batting order. He's going to get some pitches to hit. I mean, if you have to throw pitches to somebody, it's a guy like Altuve. He's not really going to take you out of the ballpark. Marisnick's got a big lead over at first.
Looks like he wants to run, and again they check on him. Blazek, a very good athlete, was a shortstop as an amateur player, so he fields his position well. He's got a good move. Swings the bat pretty well on those rare occasions when he hits. Probably won't be in that spot much now that he's a late inning reliever. Marisnick started and stopped up the middle, and it's gloved by VR, steps on the bag, and another double play on Altuve. VR making it look easy. The slick fielding shortstop rerouting to get to the bag, and a double play to win the inning. And the Brewers down 2. Last call as we go to the bottom of the 9th. Nice play, VR. Brewers baseball tonight on Fox Sports Wisconsin, presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. And it's coming down to the last 3 outs for the Brewers to try to do some damage. And they're going to have to do it against the Astros closer, Luke Gregerson. Got a save on Tuesday, the lone Astros win of the season. Took him just 10 pitches to get through the Yankees batting order on Tuesday.
Yeah, 31 saves last year for Houston in 64 appearances. Got a terrific slider, and he throws a lot of them.
Kurt Newhouse will lead off. And then Counsell will probably start to make some changes and go to his bench. Bottom of the order here for the Brewers. Newhouse hitting 6th. His last time up, he hit one out into the ATI club down the right field line. It's Colin Walsh on deck, the switch hitter. Sinkers and sliders from Gregerson, but his slider is his best pitch, and I'm sure Counsell is going to try to throw as many left-handers out there as he can in this inning.
But still know that slider is still pretty effective against left-handed batters as well.
That was one of them right there. His slider is so good because it goes down. It's more of a down pitch as opposed to, say, a Willie Peralta slider that
goes across.
Will come more across. A flatter slider. It goes straight. It almost looks like a split finger fastball.
Right. It's kind of the Chuck Krim slider. You know, back in the old days, he had a good one. They call those the natural sliders.
Good name right there, Chuck Krim.
Yep.
1-2 pitch. And Newhouse breaks his bat. Now Bueno. And out number 1. The lone infielder on that side to make the play. Day game tomorrow. Reigning Cy Young Award winner in the American League is on the mound for the Astros in our Miller Lite What's on Tap. Jimmy Nelson pitched very well against the Giants. And outdone by Johnny Cueto that day, but really good pitching match tomorrow. Airtime 12:30. First pitch 1:10 Central from Miller Park. Finale of the series. Colin Walsh pinch hitting.
Yeah, do whatever you can to try and get on base to bring that tying run up, but Gregerson doesn't walk too many. A lot of strikes. Gregerson only walked 10 batters all year. Last year.
A strike thrower with a special pitch and the guts of a closer.
Yeah.
Got his first chance to be the everyday closer. He's had some saves in the past, especially when he was with the Padres, but last year with the Astros and those 31 saves. He will give up some hits, however. He's never been a guy to just totally dominate a lineup, but he rarely gives up homers. Doesn't walk many.
Keeps the ball down.
And he's got Walsh in a hole 1-2. 2-2 now. Brewers need one base runner. Then they can take a swing at tying up this game. Both bullpens have done a good job here in the last few innings. Starting to feel like another big offensive game as we were rolling in the 5th. Zeros since the 6th. Full count.
Good movement going away from Walsh. He watched it go by and just did miss the outside corner.
Walsh in only his 4th career plate appearance in the major leagues. From the Oakland A's, the Brewers acquired him. He's got a good at-bat going. He's known as a hitter. He had great numbers in the minor leagues. Low or high walk numbers, I should say. High pitches per plate appearance. The guy kind of developed a reputation as somebody who will battle at the plate.
Walked 124 times last year in the minors. That doesn't happen often.
7th pitch from Gregerson on the way. And he got him. A strikeout.
And chase one.
2 outs in the inning. And Gregerson is an out away from a save.
Yep, chase one down in the strike zone that time, and that would have been ball 4.
So Yadiel Rivera now. If Rivera could reach VR, the switch hitter would then bat, and then you could get to the top of the order. But the Brewers are going to have to go to work. There's a shot and a base hit. Rivera jumping on the first pitch. And here you go. The Brewers will have a shot. Tying run coming to the plate is Rivera with his second hit.
Yeah, sit on the bench for a week and come out swinging. Yadiel Rivera is looking pretty good at the plate. A couple of hits, 2 for 3. And a bullet just out of the reach of Correa. It's short. He didn't miss this one by much.
Just by him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hit a rocket out there. Tough to react that fast.
Yeah. Well, he barreled that one up.
So the stage is set now. The former Astro, Jonathan VR. Strike one. Fours him in. VR, 2 hits tonight, 2 out of 3. He's been terrific defensively again tonight. Not known as a home run hitter, but he does have one this year for the Brewers. He's down 0-2. That was as a right-handed batter. Now just trying to get Santana to the plate. No balls, 2 strikes. VR the tying run at the plate, and a little chopper foul. So there's little subtle movements on Gregerson's pitches. It makes all the difference. I feel like you could just never square him up.
Yep, fake the fastball, cut it a little bit, throw that nasty slider. Throw him off for strikes.
Gregerson deals an 0-2 in the dirt. Nice block back there by Castro. Keeps a force alive for the Astros.
Yeah, not that the Astros are worried too much about Rivera. It's the guy at the plate that they're concerned about. But as you mentioned, you keep that force play out alive at second base.
Fans on their feet, anxious. Crowd of nearly 30,000 on a Saturday night. And another 2-strike pitch for VR coming. Another one down in the dirt. Didn't bite. Good take by VR. We saw a lot of action behind Gregerson last year as a member of the Astros. Rivera kept it alive with a 2-out single. Back to the slider. VR looking for a mistake. Takes another one.
Yeah, not biting, is he?
3 sliders in the dirt, and VR has got it back his favor now. 3-2. It's going to give Rivera a head start at first. Santana, another former Astro, waiting to hit next. Hoping to get a chance. Does he dare go back to the slider? He does, and he missed. And VR walks. And now the potential winning run will stride to the plate.
Oh, what a nice at bat by Jonathan VR. He was down in the count 0-2. He just would not bite on that slider and finally missed on a fastball. And now the winning run is at the plate. And these guys exciting. They don't give up.
Do they have a little magic in them tonight at Miller Park? Tying run is on. Both runners are fast on base right now, Rivera and Villar. Santana would love to see him jog around. A home run wins it. Tough matchup for Santana. He knows it. He lays off. How about that? 5 consecutive balls with the slider from Luke Gregerson. He's sticking with it.
And he's doing it on purpose. He's throwing it out of the zone by design to see if this young ball club is going to be swinging. They're not.
Gregerson had Villar down 0-2. Behind Santana, and on the ground it goes. Correa scoops it up, and that's a ball game. Gregerson saves it. The Astros win, and they even this series at a game apiece, a final of 6-4. Astros go to 2-3, and the Brewers will drop to 2-3 as Gregerson picks up his second save of the season, makes a winner out of Doug Fister. Craig Kashawn standing by. It's time for Brewers Live. Take it away, Craiger.
Okay, B.A., thanks very much. Boy, the Brewers battled. They were down 6-1 at one point, making it a ball game to their final out. We'll hear from Craig Counsell, catch up with the Brewer crew, and get you set for the rubber match of the series coming up tomorrow next on Brewers Live Postgame. Stay with us.